Like, the level of discomfort that I feel underneath my skin reading about this, it's too much. It's too much. Back in 2025, faculty at Centennial High School received an email regarding weird behavior from a teacher towards one of her students. The email stated that Haley Beck's behavior towards one of her students was just off because she had been seen sitting alone in a car with him, Snapchatting him, buying him gifts, doing his homework for him, treating him significantly different than she treated her other students. And according to a police report, she was not the only one, because rumors had been spreading around 4 months before anyone actually reported it, of two weird teacher-student relationships with the same student. The teachers were identified as 27-year-old Haley Beck and 47-year-old Angela Berlocka, who had been working as a teacher for 25 years. So Angela Berlocka, again a 47-year-old grown woman who had been employed by the school for well over 2 decades, makes the decision that it's all right to get romantically involved with a student, who from my understanding was a sophomore in high school when this all started in the 2023-2024 school year. She ends up recording videos of herself showing all of her regions and doing stuff while saying the student's name. A female student that heard about this also said that Angela's reasoning for involving herself with a high school boy was because, quote, her husband did not satisfy her enough. Those videos, I think we can assume she sends to him because they end up on his phone. His grandmother finds them and she calls authorities, which prompts the investigation into Angela. That opens up the floodgates because once authorities begin digging into the accusations against Angela, they speak to the principal, who then tells them, hey, by the way, there's this other teacher, 27-year-old Haley Beck, and I've received multiple complaints against her in the past from students and staff about her behavior towards the same student. Just thought you should know. And just like that, more and more information keeps coming to the surface, revealing that 27-year-old Haley Beck had also been grooming said student since before he turned 18 years old. Haley Beck was his psychology and sociology teacher when all of this began, and the more that they looked into her, the worse that things got. Investigators discovered over 4,000 messages between Haley and the student, all talking about being intimate, keeping it a secret, and even speaking about payments that she had made to him. The bulk of those 4,000 messages took place between June and August of 2025, by which point the student had turned 18 years old. Regardless, a very clear power imbalance was present. So things between Haley and the student reportedly began by giving him special treatment in class, bumping up his grades, improving his attendance record, and doing most of his homework for him. And then in December of 2024, we have what I guess you could call the first documented red flag that raised official concern, because in front of the other students, apparently in front of the entire soccer team, Haley Beck gives her car keys to the student to grab something from her car. What was he gonna grab, you may be asking? Just a Christmas present that she had been saving for him. A student brings this to the principal attention, also says, hey, I know the two of them have been Snapchatting as well. It's pretty weird, pretty concerning. In fact, Mrs. Beck herself is weird with all of the boys in our class, and she's very, very flirty. Thought you should know. But the principal took no significant action. After that, the weird behavior continues on in the classroom. During a classroom project, Haley Beck allegedly fed the student food from her hands. She also started bringing him food to school. So the student would have food to eat after practice. She would bring him gifts inside of the classroom. She would mark him as present when he was absent. She would raise his grades just because, and she wouldn't be casual about this behavior at all. It almost felt like she was like craving attention, because the student would tell his friends about certain things, and I get the feeling that Haley almost liked the attention that she was getting from it. It also seems like she just couldn't be bothered whether or not people saw them interact as more than a student-teacher relationship, because once they had a full-blown argument that started inside of the classroom until they eventually took it out into the hallway, and during that argument, a student allegedly heard Haley getting really heated about how this would, quote, ruin her career and not his. Then it escalates and she starts sending him money for gas and food, and altogether it's been reported that she sent him around $630 via Apple Pay. The student was referring to her as his sugar mommy. She also starts going out of her way to buy him things that he cannot buy for himself because he isn't over 21. Then Haley starts letting him use her car for whatever he needs it for. At times she would text him asking if he wanted to buy her food, and then she would just let him use her car to leave and go get food. She would also give him her car to pay for it. She starts giving him rides, driving him around, asking him and his friends from the football team to stay after class to hang out, then inviting them to come over and swim at her apartment, and eventually the two of them begin to fully hang out outside of school grounds. Haley would often text the student to hang out, saying things like, what are you doing? Let's go get food. If he would say, no, that's weird that you're asking me to do that, you're my teacher, she would keep asking him, trying to get him to hang out, offering to pay for his food, offering to pay for his friend's food. She wanted to hang out with him all the time. Once he asked her for money and she responded with something along the lines of, quote, only if you come over and watch a movie with me, end quote. She would also Snapchat him pictures of herself, and she would allegedly get mad if he did not respond. She would send him pictures and say, do you think that this is cute for Instagram? And he would be like, I literally don't know. Mind you, also, Haley Beck is aware that this student is also involved with the other teacher, 47-year-old Angela, and she doesn't like it because it makes her jealous. In a text exchange between the two of them, she states, quote, even though our situation is still not right, at least we are closer in age. I don't like being compared to Mrs. B, end quote. And with that, very important to note that in her own words, she knew that this was wrong, but that didn't stop her. I also read, not sure how true this is, but I read that Haley would send him money every time that he gave her a compliment, $5 per compliment. So one time he gave her 5 compliments, she paid him $25. So as high school students do, they start talking. Rumors start spreading very quickly about Haley, Beck, and the student. Rumors of them having a romantic physical relationship. Although, please let me make it clear, this was no relationship, this was grooming. Haley Beck is an adult, as is Angela Berlocka, and they knew that they both knew their behavior was wrong and gross, and they didn't care. But allegedly, the student would talk to his friends about how Haley Beck had this weird obsession with him. Then, as we know, allegations surface about Angela Berlocka, the investigation begins, and both her and Haley Beck are placed on leave in August of 2025. Then authorities begin to interview other students, other parents, and other witnesses. They get a search warrant to search Haley Beck's apartment, car, and phone. And what they found is so unsettling. First of all, I guess Haley Beck had the student's name on her phone on Snapchat saved as Sneaky Link. They found messages of Haley Beck offering to do things for him or to him, Haley writing, quote, "God forbid a girl offers her services," unquote. When the student replied that Haley was, quote unquote, funny, she clarified, quote, "But I'm also serious. Just call me if you're feeling crazy," unquote. Messages between the two of them included a discussion to meet up at the student's grandpa's house, and then Haley driving him to school the following morning. Haley asking what they could realistically do at his grandpa's house. The student responding with, quote, "LOL, eat me? I don't know." To which Haley said, quote, "Well, yeah, duh, but like, what about your grandpa?" There were pictures of Haley with red marks on her neck that she had taken to send to him to show him that she had a hickey. On June 30th, 2025, Haley allegedly suggested that they meet up, saying, quote, "Catch me today before my period starts tomorrow," unquote. The student responded saying that they could meet up in a car, to which Haley responded with, quote, "Ugh, it's so sus doing it during the day, but okay, whatever you say," end quote. On another occasion, Haley told the student that even though she was on her time of the month, no worries, because she could still use her mouth. Authorities also found handwritten notes, including a love letter of sorts from Haley to the student. In that, she wrote, quote, "For this relationship being extremely wrong, I feel like we've really made the most out of it," end quote. She talks about times that he would fall asleep on her couch, times that she would go with him to his tattoos, even if the only reason he wanted her there was to bring him food. She also talked about how she will miss him when he goes to college. She writes, quote, "I know there's some random time/days where you decide to hate me, but that's okay because I know at the end of the day we're solid most of the time. Genuinely feel like you're a brother, weird, maybe a cousin or stepbro. Plus, truly never thought I would be in this situation with you, but I'm glad to have someone who I think will be in my life for a while. Even if we don't talk all the time now or even at all when you're in college, I feel like our little bond will always be there," end quote. Another part of it reads, quote, "All of our car hangouts were fun too, for eating plus other stuff, LOL. Or our night adventure in Cali. Like there is truly no other student, I know, so wrong, that I would want to do all of this with. Don't let this all get to your head, but I'm glad I have you in my life. Okay, ew, WTF. I mean, you've been to my parents' house, in their closet, insane. I feel like you've opened up to me about a lot of things. I'm glad that I've been able to be someone you can talk to, even though sometimes my advice or input is unsolicited. I'm happy we can talk about things. You know, you can always reach out if you need anything," end quote. Her letter is embarrassing, quite frankly, and it's disturbing. And it's even more ridiculous when you find out that when Haley was confronted about all of this, everything they found in the search warrant, she denied absolutely everything. She was adamant that her student had never been at her apartment and that she had never had a relationship with him outside of a student-teacher relationship. On March 26th of 2026, the school board held a meeting in which every single person on the board voted to terminate Haley Beck, and she was fired. As of mid-April 2026, prosecutors are still reviewing the cases and no arrests have been made. Neither Haley nor Angela have been arrested. Since then, also, text messages between the student and his friends have been released, and what I will say about that is that he does not speak about her kindly. He comments on her looks and her behavior and describes her as weird and fat, and he also didn't hold back when it came to messages between him and her, because he would often call her weird, and he once even said that she was stuck in high school. It also sounds like the student nor his family wanted to cooperate with authorities during the investigation because they don't want anything to interfere with his future or his college athletic scholarship opportunities. I'm not sure if that's changed and they are now cooperating, don't know. And the last thing I want to bring up is the video interview that has resurfaced of Haley Beck opening up about how important it is for teachers to form connections with their students, saying, quote, "Teachers can have connections with their kids. I feel like that's one of the most important parts of teaching because at the end of the day, you never know. I might be the only person that does care, so I try really hard to make that known in my teaching and in my interactions with the students." Yeah. doesn't look good. And as cringy and weird and uncomfortable as all of this is, I feel like when it's a grown woman taking advantage of a young boy, people do sometimes make jokes, but it isn't something to joke about. They were not in a relationship. He was her victim. And also the fact that Haley was so incredibly aware of what she was doing and so incredibly aware that she was wrong. She literally said that to him so many times and did it anyway, is actually really scary. But that is all I have. This is all over my For You page. Let me know your thoughts on it. And yeah, thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you guys are having the best day. If not, go do something to make it the best day. Make somebody happy, and I will see you in my next video. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.